it's Adrienne and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited. I feel like I've been waiting for this moment for like months and months and months. And this moment is the iPhone 10, iPhone X, and iPhone 8 and 8 Plus release. Oh my god, I have so much to say about it. In today's video, I am going to be telling you guys 25 new features, whether good, whether bad, about the iPhone X more specifically. I will talk a tiny bit about the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, but to be honest, it hasn't changed that much from like the 7 and the 7 Plus, so I'm really going to be focusing on the iPhone 10 or iPhone X. I think it's called the 10, they just write it like X, which makes sense because it's cooler that way. So hopefully after you guys watch this video, you will have a little bit better of an idea of what the iPhone 10 has to offer and whether or not you think it is worth purchasing. As you guys know, I love everything about iPhones. I do life hack videos, I do videos about iPhone apps, tons of stuff like that, so I will link down below some playlists to all the other iPhone videos that I have done. There's plenty of content for you guys to binge watch, learn all you can about iPhones before making the decision to purchase the new one. Before we begin, be sure to click subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click that bell for notifications. I want to get that notification squad going strong, so let me know down below if you guys are from the notification squad. And also, this video, I want it to be a conversation. I want you guys to ask me questions that you have. I can always make follow-up videos. This is me just talking to you guys about my opinions on this phone and whether or not I think it's worth buying. All right, guys, without anything else to say, let's get into it. All right, so before we get into the goods of the iPhone 10, I'm just gonna mention a couple really brief things about the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, I don't know if we all were even expecting this to come out at this time, but it did. And to be honest, nothing is that new and crazy about the iPhone 8 compared to the iPhone 7. Obviously, the number one major difference is iOS 11. Now, here's the thing though, iOS 11 will be available to you if you have any of the previous models of the iPhone. So essentially, getting an 8 or an 8 Plus really isn't that much different. My thought is honestly that you should stick with the device you have if you're not planning on getting the 10, but that is totally up to you. One thing to really consider though before you guys update your current software is that they make the new software for the new models of phones. So that just means that sometimes if you upgrade your software on a phone that it wasn't built for, aka an iPhone 7 and iPhone 6, oftentimes over time it'll decrease the lifespan of that phone, it'll get slower, and that's just because the software is outperforming the phone, if that makes any sense. The software was built for a higher powered model of a phone, so it's very compatible with that new phone. So when you upgrade your old phone, oftentimes it'll get slower, and that in my mind is like a marketing tactic of Apple to get you to buy the new phones because they want you to upgrade your software so that over time you're like, my phone is slow. But really, you guys, these types of phones that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars are supposed to last you longer than they do. So just keep that in mind. Just be weary of upgrading your software on a phone that the software wasn't designed for. It still totally works and it's awesome. It's also a really good benefit to be able to get that new software on your old phone without paying the money for the new phone, but just be careful because it will slow it down. I mean, I've always had that experience. Obviously, everyone has different experiences, but I definitely think it does. So that's really all I'm going to say about the iPhone 8. I really want to focus on the iPhone 10 in this video. So to start off, we're just going to talk about the general changes of the iPhone 10, and then I'm going to go into what the worst parts about it are. So if you're considering buying it, be sure to stick around because you're going to want to know why you should potentially not buy it. So first and foremost, one of the biggest changes is that instead of having a home button, it is now just going to be this thing called faceID. The iPhone 10 will come with a true depth camera sensor, meaning it basically, through a lot of really complicated hardware, will recognize your exact facial features to be able to unlock your phone. So in order to unlock it, you raise your phone to your face and then you swipe up, and that's all you do. It'll recognize your face and then you swipe up and it'll unlock it. Now, this is all really cool in theory, but in my opinion, it's not necessary. There are pros to Face ID over Touch ID, however. For example, it'll protect against people trying to get into your phone wearing a mask or showing a photograph of you or any sort of spoof. It'll protect against that because the technology is so good. It'll know that it's a photograph. It'll know it's not you. So that's awesome. With Touch ID, which was the home button and the old way to unlock your phone, the chances of someone random being able to access your phone was 1 in 50,000. With Face ID, the chances of someone unlocking your phone who aren't you is 1 in a million. So this feature is obviously more highly secure. You don't have as much of a risk of someone unlocking your phone, but overall, it's not this like revolutionary thing. I think it's just gonna be like different. Like you're not even gonna think about it. You're just gonna be like, whoop, yep, cool. And I know a lot of people are concerned about like, well, I look so different in the morning without makeup, or like, what if it's nighttime? But according to the Apple keynote speech, they really think that it does a really good job of recognizing your face, whether you have makeup on or you change your hair color. They seem to think that that's not gonna be an issue. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see. The next biggest thing I noticed are the Animojis. Now, this is the name that they are calling the emojis that are animated. Not only can you send them an Animoji with just like a movement, but you can also send them a video with audio as well, and it'll actually loop. So I think that's really cute. Again, not like a necessary feature, but just definitely something fun that the iPhone 7 and iOS 10 doesn't have. The next feature that's different is that you can simply tap your phone to wake it up. Right now, you either have to do movement or actually click on the button, but this one you'll be able to tap the screen and it'll wake up, so that's kind of cool. The next different feature is that instead of pushing this button for Siri, you can still say, "Hey Siri," or you can push shut up Siri. Or you can push the side button, and that's how you will activate Siri on the iPhone 10. So because of this lack of home button, I bet you're wondering, but how do you go home? Well, on the iPhone 10, you actually just swipe up from the bottom to go home. So that's interesting. But again, it's nothing like revolutionary. I'm not like, oh my god, I've always wanted to swipe up to go home. No, like it's just a new thing. And I do think it'll be weird getting used to no home button, but probably the same as the no headphone jack. You kind of get used to it after a while. The next thing that's different is that you can swipe along the bottom of the phone in order to go from app to app, and they're calling this multitasking. Now, this is a different feature. However, on the iPhone 7 and other models, you actually can use Force Touch to click on the left side of a page and actually scroll between the apps. So it's not like the multitasking feature didn't exist. It's just different because now you're just gonna swipe along the bottom. Another new feature is they now have this two-tone flash, which basically just means that the flash will allow for better photography all around. Better photography in low light, which to me is something I really, really care about, is having better photography in low light. They'll also have this staged lighting effect, which I don't fully understand, but I think it essentially just means you can actually kind of have the background be black and just like have a really artsy portrait photo. They showed one in the keynote, I'll insert it right here, but that's kind of cool. Next, and probably a feature that you guys all really, really want, is that the battery life will increase by 2 hours. Again, this is kind of, I think, a marketing tactic of Apple. Like when the batteries suck, people want to buy new phones, and so they always kind of increase the battery life so that people will get the next phone. Maybe not, maybe I'm crazy, but it is a business and people always want the new phone. So battery life increasing will be really, really good, because I know without this case, my phone will be at like 40% by 11 a.m. and it's ridiculous. I'm also on my phone like 24/7. And another big change is that the iPhone 10 will have a wireless charging mat. I think this feature is actually very cool. You don't need to use the wireless charging mat. You'll still have this charging port, but I do think the wireless mat is cool. If you guys have an Apple Watch, if you have the AirPods, you can like buy one of those bigger mats and just stick them all on it overnight and they'll all just charge. That will be an extra cost, so obviously you have to factor that in, but I do think it's a really cool feature. All right, so before we get into the cons and reasons why you should not buy this phone, I just want to say that overall, I didn't think this phone was as revolutionary and different as I thought it would be. I really expected something with like a ton of new features, but really it's mostly just the external design that's a lot different and the Face ID versus the Touch ID. Other than that, I mean, of course they're changing things, they're updating things, but I'm not finding it to be this like crazy different phone. Now let's get to the cons. I hope you have your tea. First of all, we obviously need to talk about price. Now, the iPhone 10 starts at $999 for a 64GB phone, and then it actually jumps up $150 and goes to $1,149 for the 256GB. This is ridiculous. This is the most expensive iPhone that has come out. It's way too much in my opinion, especially considering that with how high powered this phone is, you're gonna want a lot of storage. So 64GB, in my opinion, wouldn't cut it. Like I have 256 now and it's great. I'm already at like 100GB and I've had this for a year. So 64 gigs just wouldn't cut it, meaning I would have to get the $1,150 phone, which is just like, in my opinion, ridiculous. Not to mention, that's just for if you live in America. If you guys are out of the country and you have some sort of conversion rate that is not in your favor, these are gonna cost so much more. Like, this is ridiculous. If you look at these prices, it's crazy. Can you imagine spending $1,500 on a phone? I can't, personally, so that sucks. And on the topic of price, you also have to purchase a charger. You have to purchase the adapter because they're going to be switching to USB-C, which is those like skinny cords that the new MacBooks have instead of the regular USB. So no matter what, you're gonna have to buy that power block, which sometimes they're $50, sometimes they're $75. So that's just annoying and another cost. And on the topic of money and risk, the back of the new iPhone is all glass. So no one quite knows how this is gonna play out yet, but I feel like it could be a lot easier to shatter the back of your phone if you drop it. It just seems like it might be a little bit too fragile, and I just can't imagine paying that much and then just like dropping it and shattering it. So I don't love that. Another thing to consider is that this is the first generation phone of the iPhone 10. What I mean by that is that this is the first time that they've tested out this new product. So there may be a lot of bugs and glitches that they come across over the year until they release the next model, whether it's like the iPhone 10s or whatever it is, there may be a lot of glitches, and oftentimes it's not great to get the new product right when it comes out because of this reason. You want to give the developers time to figure out what the bugs are, what people are unhappy with, and then change those for the next version. So if you're someone who's tight on money and you don't necessarily need to switch, I could recommend waiting until the next model comes out, because I do feel like they will fix a lot of those glitches and it's just less to worry about. Another thing that I didn't really consider, but I saw a video on this, is that the screen at full brightness is kind of dim. When you compare it to the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 or S7 or S8 or something like that, I don't know Androids, I'm sorry. But if you compare it to that at full brightness, the screen of the iPhone is pretty dim, and I don't love that. I like a really bright, colorful phone, and granted, the screen is absolutely incredible in terms of the display. The Retina display is like beautiful. I haven't seen it in person, but from the videos, it looks beautiful, but it definitely is significantly more dim. So the next major difference on the screen is the notch on the top, which they call the sensor housing. Now, this is kind of annoying. I expected more of like a square screen with just like tiny little dots on the whole top part instead of just like this chunk cut out. So I really don't love that, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the sensor housing can get in the way when you're looking at apps or when you're scrolling. It's kind of just there, so it kind of cuts into whatever content you're looking at. Also, if you're someone who had an iPhone 7 Plus, you need to realize that your screen is actually going to crop in a little bit, so what you're used to seeing, that width, you're no longer gonna have. And that's gonna affect certain apps that haven't updated yet. They're gonna have little black bars on the top and bottom. So it's just something to consider, that the screen is going to be a little bit different, and it won't be compatible with every single app and everything you do on your phone. Also, something that's gonna bother me a lot is that it's actually going to cut into your video. So the video that you will take and video you will watch will be in the 16:9 ratio, which is like totally normal. However, if you're watching it full screen, it's gonna actually crop the video because the corners are rounded, and also that sensor housing is going to cut off some of the content. So if you don't full screen it, which of course everyone wants to full screen it, you can see the full picture, but it's cropped in. I personally don't love the look of that. I'd rather watch it full screen, but it bothers me that that sensor housing will get in the way. So that's something to consider. It could be one of those things you get used to very easily, but I just don't know. Another con is that you can only put in one face for the Face ID. This won't apply to everyone, but I'm sure some people maybe share a phone, or maybe they're a parent and their kid has access, or they have access to their kid's phone, but you can't do that. You can only have one face. So that won't affect everyone, but that's definitely something to consider if you're someone who does share a phone or wants multiple people to have access to your phone. It's no longer a thing. So good luck to all those girlfriends and boyfriends trying to snoop on their significant others, because that's not gonna happen. You literally need their face. Another difference is the reachability, and what I mean by that is, like, when you look at the phone and you're holding it with one hand, your ability to be able to reach from the top to the bottom, every app or any of the scrolling, is going to be compromised with the iPhone 10. And the reason for that is that the notification bar is now going to be on the top left. You have to pull all the way down from the top left of the phone. So if you're holding it with one hand and you can't necessarily reach the top, that's going to be annoying, and you have to use your other hand. And same goes with the control center. The control center that you now swipe up to get is going to be swiping down from the very top of the right-hand corner. So it's not a huge deal, but it is a factor. And I mean, I know people with the Pluses probably already had to deal with this, but if you have little small hands, like, it might be hard, and it's definitely just something to consider. So those were all of my thoughts on the iPhone 10 in a nutshell. I know I ran through those super quickly. I just wanted to get that out there in the most basic form possible, and you guys can leave me questions. Let's start a conversation about this. I'm super curious as to what you guys think of this. Are you guys going to get the iPhone 10? Are you not? Are you even iPhone users, or do you just like watching videos like this? Let me know your thoughts. I'm thinking of pre-ordering the iPhone 10 myself, but the more I watch more and more videos, I don't know if I want to. I may want to get the 8 Plus and then wait until the second generation iPhone 10. I keep wanting to say X, but I haven't decided. Let me know down below what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, I'll leave my other iPhone video playlists down below. Be sure to click on those. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video. Love you so much. Bye.